In this first lesson, we're going to talk about the tool of our trade, your camera. And a lot of times it's easy to think that, well, I just have a camera, I'll just hit record and go. But you can't just hit record and go. You have to understand specific settings and options on your camera to make it do exactly what you want it to do to achieve the visual that you're trying to achieve. So in this first lesson, we're going to break down the cameras into the basic settings that you have to understand before you start your interview project. And for this first exercise, we're going to discuss the internal settings of frame rate and resolution.
So there are various frame rates that you're going to be shooting at, and it really depends on the end use of what you're doing. Common frame rates that you're going to run into are 24, 30, and 60. 24 is usually associated with kind of a dreamy cinematic look. It's a slower frame rate. And then 30 is usually associated with end result being television, broadcast. A lot of YouTube is done at 30 frames. It tends to have a smoother motion to it. And then 60 is used by a lot of gamers. It's also used when you're shooting for slow-mo end result, where you want to bring something that's shot at 60 frames into a 30 frame timeline and slow it down, and you get that really cool, smooth slow-mo look. So you really have to think about what your end result is going to be when you set that frame rate in your camera.
And some people just have preferences. I love to shoot everything at 24. A lot of people think that 30 is good because that's what's television standard. I wouldn't say there's a right and wrong. I would avoid shooting everything in 60 frames per second if you're just gonna have it look like normal motion, because then it looks very video-esque and not very, I don't know, it doesn't look very good in my opinion.
And your file size will be larger if you do that.
File size will be larger. But that's a setting that you have to change inside of your camera. And we're not gonna go into the menus of all these cameras because your menu on your camera is going to be its own unique beast that you have to learn. But take a minute and find the frame rate settings in your camera and choose either 24 or 30 to start. And then as you want to experiment with slow motion, you may want to move up to 60. Now, not all cameras do 60. And if you don't see 60 on your camera, it probably just means yours doesn't do 60. And that's okay. As you start to invest in new cameras, frame rate is one of those considerations that you should keep in the back of your mind as you look at the specifications. But not only frame rate is going to be in that menu as you go to find it, you're also going to see the resolution that you're going to be filming in. And so a lot of times as you look through the menu in your camera, you're going to see a resolution next to the frame rate number.
Yeah.
And that resolution is going to be just as important, if not more important, than your frame rate, because that determines the size of the image that you're filming in.
Yeah, and that could be very useful later on when you're editing, okay? So, a standard frame, or a frame size resolution would be regular HD, 1920 by 1080 pixels, okay? There are older frame sizes, standard definition, that are smaller, but those are not really used anymore. So usually people are starting with that HD size, and then it goes up from there. The next, most popular size after that would be 4K. Now, what that allows you to do is punch in, they call it, okay? So you can have something that is shot at 4K and then edit that in a 1080 standard HD timeline, and you will get more real estate. You can actually increase the size of the image beyond the edge of the frame without losing image quality, because it's so much larger. It's 4 times the size of a regular HD frame to begin with. And what this allows you to do is have a close-up of somebody without having to have another camera shoot that close-up. So you can cut to a frame that is only the upper part of my body, and then also have a wide shot with both Alan and I in it with the same camera shot in 4K. It makes the footage that you get much more versatile when it comes to editing.
And when all these cameras are coming out, and you're kind of in the K race currently, right? Because now you have 6K cameras and 8K TVs, and Blackmagic just has their 12K camera. The race to that K number is kind of absurd, but when you think about it, and people are like, well, what's the point of that? It's that reframing ability, it's that scalability. Imagine a 12K shot edited in a 1080 timeline. I mean, you could have a wide shot and then punch in just on like Luke's eyeball and lose no resolution. That's a pretty awesome ability. So as you start to look at these resolutions, and they're really big marketing points for cameras, don't get caught up in that, thinking if you're not buying the newest 8K camera, you're missing out. Because the larger the resolution, the larger your file size. So if you have a 12K camera, you better have hard drives that can store all of that.
Not to mention an editing system that can handle footage that's at a data rate like that. Absolutely. That's the thing that people don't realize. They get into post with something that was shot in 6, 8, or 12K, and there's a choke point. Their system can't even play the footage back, or if it can, you have to have the resolution playback set so low that it looks terrible, okay? Because it can't handle it. So, really anything above 4K is really superfluous at this point. 4K is going to give you tons of flexibility in post.
And I would say, if you're going to buy a camera, buy one that does at least 4K, because that future-proofs you for the next at least 5 to 6 years.
Definitely.
But this also dictates the settings that you have inside of Premiere as well. So there's a lot of consideration here. Frame rate and your resolution need to be set by you at the onset of every production. One of my things is sometimes mistaking that the settings were right from the last time I shot. Don't do that. Dive into that menu, find those options, and set it to something that you are comfortable with and that you're aware of when you start to edit.
And then once you get into the post part of the workflow, make sure that every sequence that you create, every sequence that you're working in is set to the proper settings for what you want to achieve. Maybe you want something that's, a sequence that's in 4K because you're going to deliver 4K at the end, and that you don't need that punch-in ability, that frame flexibility to be able to reframe things. But if you're editing in HD, then stay that way the whole time and maintain that flexibility that you need to be able to reframe things. So don't think it's all in the camera or all in post. Those two things always work together.
So take some time, find these in your camera. In the next tutorial, we're going to break down exposure in your camera.
See you guys.